Extra Knife at Dinner, an audio series by Patricia Asedegbega. And so it begins. The waiting room was buzzing with noise. People were walking up and down, either talking amongst themselves, informing family and friends of their whereabouts, or uttering moans or cries of distress due to the state they found themselves in and the fact that they were not being seen to as quickly as they believed they ought to be. Gabrielle felt like she was watching the scene playing before her eyes from across the street or through a TV screen. She looked around her, trying to focus. It was difficult to recognize the elegant men and women who had been at the same dinner party that she had attended barely a few hours earlier. Wigs had come off, makeup was smudged, clothes were disheveled, good manners had been thrown out the window. Suddenly, she heard a new voice at the nurse's station and got up quickly, hoping to get some news. The other three nurses, frantic and overworked, were not answering anyone who was not on the list of those waiting to be tended to. And even they were not getting answers whenever they approached to ask when the doctor would call for them. "Good evening, nurse. I wanted to know if there's news from the theatre. 2 of my friends were taken in and it's been quite a while now." Gabrielle stopped, as the woman she was addressing wasn't even looking in her direction. An internal call had come in and she was speaking to whomever was on the other end of the line. Gabrielle tried to listen to see if it could be anything that concerned her. "No, Dr. Lawani hasn't arrived yet. I'll call him again. He was at the reception of some wedding, but he said he'd leave immediately. You know how Lagos traffic can be." There was silence as the nurse listened to what was being said to her. More people at the desk were trying to get her attention, and the lack of response was the same for everyone. "Nurse, I've been sitting over there for almost 2 hours. You said the doctor would be with me shortly. Do we have different definitions for shortly?" Gabrielle looked at the angry middle-aged woman standing next to her. Had her opinion been asked, she would not have advised that she spoke in that tone to the tired and exasperated-looking nurse at the nurse's station, and she would not like the answer she received. That answer did not take long to be heard, nor did it disappoint. "Madam, I said the doctor will be with you shortly. He's doing all he can. It's Saturday night, our staff is not all here. The most serious cases were taken directly into the ER, and the rest of you will just have to wait patiently. There are 3 doctors working tirelessly. I am sure you can appreciate that we really can't do any more or go any faster." "Wait, let me see if I've understood you well," the irate woman replied. "So, it's a special day for a tragedy to happen. One just has to make sure it's not on a weekend, lest the doctors are not out playing golf or attending some wedding." "Nurse, do you have any idea who you're talking to? My husband is very good friends with the man who pays your salary, and if you don't make sure I am seen to immediately, you won't be receiving one at the end of the month." The look the nurse returned was not one of fear or of someone impressed in the least by the direct threat. "Madam, I also belong to the medical profession, and from this distance, I have assessed you and my diagnosis. Go home, take a painkiller, and then go straight to bed. You are only getting in the way here. Look at the long queue of people behind you." "Madam, you are bleeding." Gabrielle, who had been following the exchange with interest, looked over the woman standing next to her. The invitation for that night had specified that it was to be an all-white party with a hint of color. There was clearly no red stain on the woman's kaftan. Suddenly, she felt someone grab her arm. It was the nurse, who was pointing at her side. A large expanding blood stain had appeared on Gabrielle's white dress. "What?" was all she managed to ask in shock, before feeling herself sink into a state of unconsciousness. What happens next? You can't afford to miss episode 1 of this brand new mystery, so make sure you stay glued to this channel. To stay up to date with Patricia Asedegbega's work, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications.